And sometimes you feel kind of alone, like honestly, right? I've been doing it for 8 years. There's been many times I've felt alone. I don't feel alone being a part of this group, and I'm not even a part of I'm just a part of Juicebox, and I'm not even actually Megan's actively involved in it.
Today, we're joined by a couple. We've got Megan and Jonathan. Megan's actually in our Agent Shift Plus program. She's been using our marketing, our tools, and her husband just happens to be a licensed agent as well, although not in any of our programs. And so, really excited to have both of you guys on today, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, for sure.
Happy to be here, man. Thank you.
Cool, John. So, John, maybe to you, before Megan kind of joined Juicebox and joined the program, can you speak to what it was kind of like for Megan in the business prior to joining Juicebox? I think it was between a year and a half ago.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, we both started in the industry about 8 years ago. Really, before Juicebox, both of us, more so Megan, was looking for a platform to help her transition into being a new mom, right? Basically have a system, a virtual system that would help her to be able to keep her sales numbers at a high level, but be able to be more flexible and more organized on the virtual side.
Do you remember what was that kind of epiphany moment or that thing that stuck in your mind that said Juicebox is different? This is where we think we can achieve this. Do you remember talking about that with Megan at the time, trying to understand really what was that factor that said this is where we're going to kind of make our careers at Juicebox?
Good question. I think I'm sure her perspective is a little different than mine, but I think being in the industry as long as I have, I've used a lot of different resources, right? I mean, if you're going to write a lot of business, you have to make a commitment to put in activity, period, wherever you're at. Like if you don't have that consistently, it's not going to work. But outside of working and having consistent activity, you always want to know you're working with people that have the same mindset as you to some degree and that can communicate like, hey, what's going on? So to be really honest with me, like it was just my conversation with Steven. We're in a people business, right? So like we're not in insurance or retirement. We're in a people business. We just happen to do insurance and retirement well, right?
Yes.
Hopefully, and continue to do it well. But that's, yeah.
It was that
Hopefully
original relationship, I think, and
yeah,
interaction that was kind of different than what you'd experienced before.
exactly. It was definitely different than my experience with other organizations. I'll say that.
Since Megan joined, you talked about Megan's search and your search for really something that she could do in a high leverage manner, right? Where she could work virtually and still close business. And so since Megan's joined, what's kind of the changes that you've noticed in Megan, either personally, professionally, specific to sales process? What kind of changes have you noticed specifically to Megan that you can attribute to Juicebox?
So I've used it myself, right? And it's been really good. I've learned a ton. You know, it's funny, like you had mentioned at the beginning, like I know you're not in the system, but I feel like I am because I schedule the calls and I listen to them a week behind. And there's so much good stuff. But I think the change, I don't know. I think it's just when you've been in the business for a certain period of time, you build habits that are good for you. And then some of them you might have some habits that aren't good for you, but you need to work on a skill to go to the next level. So specifically for what I've seen with Megan is her skill with IUL and annuity business has increased. Also with just regular life insurance and other things that we do because of just the way you communicate with people. You know, being able to listen to guys that have done it longer than you have and be open to their perspective and apply the good habits you've built to that. Probably the biggest thing I've seen, right? From my perspective with her, like the way that she has conversations about specific retirement products are different than because we wrote that kind of business prior to Juicebox, but not at the level that we are now.
Jonathan, specifically because you brought up the tools and being on the calls and saying I feel like I'm in the system and I've used the system. So even though you're not in the system technically, how do you think that system, the tools, the forecaster, the presentation, the training, all of that, how do you think that has led to you closing any more business? Has that led to you being better at what you do, more efficient in any way?
100%. Yeah. I've had my best year in advanced market sales this year. So in 8 years. So I think just the forecaster, the way it's a big thing when you're talking to a client. It says, hey, like even though you're saying I'm here to really try to help and serve you, and that's actually your heart, and that may be 100% true, the forecaster confirms that to what they see. It's like, oh, this is serious. Like they have everything broken down. They're really trying to help me, right? Just that one forecaster, among other things. But yeah, the systems of it, and then being willing to put in the work and being open to, hey, maybe I need to adjust something, like, right?
I love hearing that. And I think for you guys, it really, something that I've always, heard and have noticed is for you guys, I think it's always about that client centered service, right? It's really focusing on what's best for the client. And I think what you just expressed there is the tools and the techniques to get the client on your side, for them to see for themselves that you really do have that at heart. And so really appreciate that you sharing that kind of information. Megan, for you, because I know that you're all over the coaching calls, you're always, getting cases planned and showing up there. How do you think that coaching and case planning, if at all, has been helpful for you in your role, and specifically maybe focused around that leverage piece? Because I think a big thing for you was, how do I do this with a child and pregnancy and really make this transition into the virtual space?
I just believe that I don't know everything, and I know that I need help from others, and that's the only way that I grow. And trying to figure it out and not saying, hey, I need some help, and trying to do it by yourself in isolation will lead to you believing things that aren't true about what you can accomplish, right? And so for me, I've always believed in the fact that training is extremely important. And also it's a lot to learn at once. On top of all of the other things that we have to keep up with in life, just for everybody, and on top of becoming a new mom, and on top of being a business owner, and on top of being, all these things, it's like, okay, now I've got to learn this whole new system. But if I don't lean into the system, I'm not really going to effectively use it or leverage the support that I have. And so I'm just like, you got to take advantage of the advantage. That's just the way I think about it. If I'm not using all the tools and resources, and of course, I'm not going to be perfect. I can't be on everything all the time. But when I can show up, and when I do have the opportunity, or do have a case, or someone's willing to help me, I'm the first one to say, I need some help. And what's your perspective? I just believe that was a big part, along with doing the activity, of course. That was a big part in getting through that learning curve quicker and being able to see success faster.
Something you said recently, Megan, on a roundtable interview that you so graciously did with Jim, was you said that, but you were able to make, because of Juicebox, $250,000 last year. So what do you think in terms of the Juicebox system? What was the most important piece to getting you there? If you could only identify one thing.
I would say it's the training and the people. The word tracks have really helped me be able to close bigger deals and higher caliber clients. So I think that learning that those word tracks and being a little bit more confident because of the training, when you speak confidently, people believe you. No matter what you're buying, if that person is confident about what they're selling you, you're probably going to buy it, right? And so there's something to be said for that, mostly attributed to the training more than really the activity. I built up the activity and the work ethic from all my experience before coming here. And so it wasn't that I needed. It was, I need a platform that I can plug into virtually so I can be available. But the training was able to help me capture different clients that I haven't been able to in the past.
Thank you for sharing that. Because being the partner of somebody who's been in the system for between a year and a half, I can't remember exactly how long that's been for you guys. But being a partner, a husband, a business partner as well, of somebody who's in the system, what would you say to those other partners out there, husbands and wives of agents who are thinking about joining Juicebox? What would you say to that person from the other side? You've experienced it.
I think being a partner, the biggest thing is being supportive, and in that support being positive, right? If someone's going to do something, like, if you think about your life or any sales experience you've had or any interaction you've had with someone on the other side helping you out with the sales process, the people that are 100% like all like committed to you for that period of time with all their energy is the best experience. And you typically do the best when you're doing that with people like this call. Like, I'm doing my best to be all the way here and not think about something else, right? So when you're doing that with your spouse or your partner or whoever it is that's doing a system, like, be supportive and like, hey, ask questions like, hey, were you on the call? That's a good question. Like, what'd you think about it?
In the process, you're saying be
Yeah.
engaged, be encouraging, but also engage and ask
Yeah. Try
thoughtful
it.
questions.
Yeah. Understand what system they're thinking about doing, like you said, or currently just started doing, and encourage them to do it with all they have, right? And support it and say, hey, how can I help? Another thing is like, when you're investing in yourself, I've never lost money investing in myself ever. I don't think anyone has. But at the same time, when you're investing in something like this, because it is an investment, you want to know it's going into good soil, right? That's probably a question you have. Like, what if I invest in this and it doesn't work out? Well, that's part of business. Like, I've invested in a lot of resources that didn't work out. But guess what? I learned a lot of things that I took to the next place, right? So in that way, it was very positive because it actually made me more money because I learned something. But this is good soil, is what I'm saying. So if you're questioning that, well, you have my word that it's good soil. Like, the least that's gonna happen if someone's saying, like, you guys are like, we guarantee you're gonna succeed if you're doing the stuff we ask you to do. So like, just the ball's in your court, basically, right?
Something that you said that I want to circle back to is you said, I'm restraining myself a little bit. I've got so much that I want to say. I'm curious.
Yeah.
What is that?
For one, I'm grateful we found you guys, for one, like, genuinely grateful. If you're going to be successful at something, a lot of work goes into it, right? Like, you have to decide that you're going to do this business if you really want to stay in it long term. And sometimes you feel kind of alone, like, honestly, right? I've been doing it for 8 years. There's been many times I've felt alone. I don't feel alone being a part of this group, and I'm not even a part of, like, I'm just a part of Juicebox, and I'm not even actually Megan's actively involved in it. I'm just listening to calls a week behind and using the tools. But the point is, like, you want to do business with good people. Like, none of us are perfect at all. We're all gonna make mistakes, right? But like, the definition of humility is like, if something happens and it wasn't ideal, I tell myself, well, how can I handle that better next time? To me, that's the definition. And you want to work with people that do that too. Like, if something didn't go the way you thought it would, you would like them to respond like, hey, sorry that didn't go the way I thought it would. How can we do better next time? Let's work on it and then keep moving. Like, that's all you can really ask for from yourself and from people you work with. And that's been my experience, right? Y'all are always working on stuff, trying to make it better. I don't feel like you're just like, we've arrived, right? Which, there's a lot of people in this
We will
industry
never arrive.
are very stuck up, man. And I don't like that feeling.
Yes.
And I don't get that from anyone here. The point is, we're grateful. It's been a great experience for me watching Megan. And we both still have a lot to grow, and always will, right? So,
John, thank you for that thoughtful
yeah.
answer. Megan, is there anything you want to end off with before we do part?
I would just say that, from the very beginning, Jonathan was super encouraging to do this. It was honestly a little bit terrifying for me to make the commitment to change something in my process. I knew I needed to do it. I was 6 months out from having a baby, and I knew I needed to change something. And the fact that he stood behind me and said, like, I know you're scared, but you're going to be fine, and I'm going to support you through it. It's going to be okay. And we just transitioned together, made it easier to commit fully to the process and to have success quicker. We are confident that, and in the system that we have backing us with Juicebox. Like, we're confident in that, and we have no intention. Someone asked me, do you plan on stopping your lead flow? It's like, I have no intention of doing that, because I know how much value it adds. We have a lot we need to work through still, but we've gotten to a place that's better than we were a year and a half ago when we started in May. It's always evolving, and we're grateful for the support and the training. If nothing else, like I said, the training has been worth every penny we've put into it. I would do it all again if all I got was the training.
Megan, you guys, what an absolute honor. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and keep the juice flowing.
Yeah. See you later.